It happened suddenly, like a bolt of lightning in a clear blue sky. On that fateful day, the value of silver plummeted by a staggering 17% in mere hours. For many, it seemed like the ground had vanished beneath their feet. The financial world stood in shock, watching what some insiders now refer to as the silver plummet unfold. But for those who were paying close attention, this wasn't a random event. It was a carefully orchestrated operation, a flash crash with roots spreading deep into the underbelly of market manipulation. But why does this crash stand out among others? It's not just about the staggering one-day loss or the immediate financial devastation that followed. It's about the players involved, the ones who ordered this crash. It involves hedge funds with a keener sense of timing than a master chess player, and market manipulators who treat the financial system like their own puppet show. The anomalies began with major players offloading assets with seeming disregard for conventional risk management. These weren't just desperate attempts to stave off loss. They were deliberate actions taken by institutions who knew exactly what they were doing. Picture the mighty storm, no longer a natural disaster, but a controlled demolition of wealth, a power play where the rules of the game are decided by those in shadows. Unusually large volumes of silver contracts suddenly hit the exchange, like a deluge in the driest desert. Within minutes, silver prices dropped from $121.67 to $95.86. To a lay observer, this was chaos, unpredictable, volatile. But to those on the inside, it was the play of a symphony conducted by unseen hands. The seismic shift liquidated long positions surpassing $1.68 billion, money vanishing into the void, only to re-emerge in the accounts of those pulling the strings. Welcome to the reality behind the flash crash, where the talk of market corrections is but a thin veneer covering the machinations at work. Here, the narrative of an unfortunate market anomaly is torn apart, revealing the intricate web of design and greed. The ruse becomes clear. Hedge funds exploiting liquidity gaps, using algorithmic trading to pull the rug out from under unsuspecting traders. This clash wasn't a meteorological accident, it was a premeditated strike, a financial blitzkrieg orchestrated with the precision of a military operation. Watch closely as we unravel the mystery, exposing how an apparent glitch in the matrix was nothing but an orchestrated breach in the system. The truth is far more unsettling than fiction. Can we trust the system when those guiding our investments are the very architects of its destruction? As we unravel the layers, brace yourself for revelations that will change the way you view financial markets forever. The date was set. The stage was dominated by eager longs and unflinching shorts. Yet, amidst this battlefield, a crash of historic proportions was orchestrated. Onlookers could only marvel as the silver price plummeted from the heights of $121.67 to the depths of $95.86. Many whispered incredulously, "A correction?" But what unfolded was a scene far removed from a simple market ebb and flow. It was more akin to an economic landslide, meticulously engineered. In the annals of one-day stock market crashes, this event stands as a titan, a jaw-dropping drop that outstripped even the most devastating financial freefalls of the past. Comparisons with historical precedents paint a vivid picture. While many market calamities are remembered for their ferocity, the silver plummet's severity singularizes it as an enigma of market dynamics. What distinguished this crash wasn't merely the abruptness of the fall, but the liquidity it devoured. A staggering $1.68 billion worth of long positions, obliterated in a matter of hours. For the unsuspecting, it was a nightmare. For the orchestrators, a methodical culling. Such liquidations weren't signs of market correction. They were tactical strikes, surgically removing weaker players from the board. A cataclysm with fingerprints leading back to those who stood to gain immeasurably. This was the anatomy of a flash crash in its purest form, a planned demolition cloaked as a spontaneous market tantrum. The intricate architecture of the event bore the hallmarks of shadowy maneuvering, a perfect alliance of human cunning and algorithmic execution. Hedge funds, with their arsenal of algorithmic tools, laid the groundwork, exploiting liquidity gaps with a predatory prowess reminiscent of a wolf pack cutting through a herd. The unseen interplay of forces behind this collapse was no unbridled spasm of capitalism, but a carefully considered rebalancing act. Market manipulation masqueraded as volatility, and the precise orchestration of the affair highlighted a strategy as old as trading itself: control the market flow and seize the power to profit from chaos. As we delve deeper, the narrative expands, revealing how hedge funds, armed with cutting-edge algorithms, orchestrated a coordinated offensive against the market's very fabric. Behind the facade of panic, methodical strategies unfolded. Every order, every sale, a note in a dirge composed by unseen financial maestros. This was not merely a flash crash, It was a crescendo in a symphony of calculated disruption. Through the veil of chaos, one truth remains undeniable. The invisible hands pulling the strings knew exactly when and how to strike, leaving a landscape forever altered and serving as a stark reminder of the latent forces capable of toppling giants in the world of finance. Are we mere players on this stage, dancing to an unseen tune, or can we decipher the melody to our advantage? Prepare for a revelation that casts shadowy machinations into the light, exposing the cunning strategies and the scale of exploitation that define this market upheaval. A reminder that in the financial theater, not everything is as it seems. And so we arrive at the crux of this methodical onslaught, the double hit mechanism, a strategy so elegantly simple yet devastatingly effective, it left both seasoned analysts and retail investors reeling. As the curtains rose on this financial drama, an unlikely alliance was at play, human acumen entwined with algorithmic precision. Picture this: hedge funds, the unseen juggernauts, perched silently but strategically on the outskirts of market movements. They knew that conventional battles are fought on two fronts: manpower and timing. But in this world, their weapons took on a decidedly digital form. Algorithms, those impartial lines of code, had become both their shield and their sword, allowing them to navigate the volatile waters with lethal efficiency. These funds exploited liquidity gaps, those fleeting moments of market vulnerability where price discrepancies create an oasis for the thirsty traders. Within these gaps, they pounced, a double hit. First, they unloaded vast quantities of silver, artfully spreading sales across platforms to evade suspicion while maximally impacting market depth. The liquidity was siphoned away in real time, each transaction a calculated piece of market cannibalism, deliberately slashing through price supports with surgical precision. Yet it wasn't enough to simply capitalize on these discrepancies. The second act followed swiftly, a rise in buybacks at a fraction of the cost after prices nosedived. It was a classic hallmark of manipulation, leveraged through high-frequency trading algorithms designed to act faster than any human could rein in, reinstating positions at a discount and leaving the market gasping for air. Amidst this frenzy, algorithmic trading became both the enabler and the executor of this grand plan, where no single human error could sway the execution. This was the heart of the double hit. In one fell swoop, unleash chaos and with equal speed, reclaim control, turning the tides to not just ride the waves, but to command them entirely. To the untrained eye, such orchestrated tactics might pass for mere anomalies in the grand scheme of market ebb and flow. After all, isn't the market supposed to self-correct? But here lies the insidious genius. By exploiting the very fabric of liquidity and trading speed, what we ostensibly trust as the fair mechanics of market forces, these puppeteers sketch a tableau of instability as their own theater for profit. And as investors watch in bewilderment, one can only ask, in a world guided by algorithms and devoid of transparency, who truly stands guard against the impending orchestrations of financial titans? Should we stand by, unaware, as the stage is set once more, or unravel the script and seize our own agency within this matrix of manipulation? The flash crash wasn't just an economic tremor. It was a meticulous act of financial puppeteering that left retail investors frustrated, bewildered, and ultimately deceived. The emotional impact of this market manipulation is profound, resonating deeply with those unwittingly swept into the turmoil at its peak. Imagine being lured into the market with the promise of profit, only to be caught in the plummet, like sheep waiting to be sheared. This isn't a mere metaphor, it's the stark reality faced by countless retail investors. The allure of the market had never been stronger. Fueled by media hype and soaring prices, everyday investors jumped at the chance to seize a piece of the silver frenzy. Yet this wasn't their story of triumph. It was a carefully constructed illusion, a disorienting mirage designed by the market's true power players. They crafted a narrative of inclusion and prosperity, only to pull the rug out from under the feet of the very participants they seduced into the game. Here's the bitter truth. These investors were drawn into the maelstrom precisely when the market was a minefield of hidden traps. The lofty highs were nothing but paper-thin veils. What lay beneath was a premeditated ambush, orchestrated to bleed the uninformed dry. It's a tactic with an unsettling nickname in financial circles: sheep shearing, where retail investors are systematically dismantled by the very dynamics they took at face value. While they were led to believe that they were participating in an era of democratized finance, the harsh reality paints a different picture. The scales of information and access were irreversibly tilted. The data, the tools, the insights favor those with the algorithms, the trading velocity, the unapparent agility. It was, and remains, an unbalanced war, where retail investors find themselves stranded between naivete and exploitation. Thus, While the media spun tales of a vibrant market filled with opportunity, the underbelly of this narrative harbored the grim undertone of manipulation. Investors were left dazed, not just by the loss of capital, but by the intricate web of deceit that unraveled around them. They came, they saw, but what they did not conquer was the hidden hand of manipulation playing them. So, where does this leave the retail investor? Anger, yes. Frustration, undeniably. But also a chance for reflection and education. The market is a wild beast, tamed not by chance, but by understanding and strategy. The lesson here is stark. Invest not just dollars, but knowledge. Because in this relentless game, it's not just about keeping what you earn, but knowing how to hold steadfast against the wolf in sheep's clothing. In the midst of this orchestrated chaos, we find the architecture of a perfect storm, meticulously crafted by forces far beyond the reach of your average investor. What we've witnessed isn't just a fluke or the whims of a volatile market. It's the synchronized dance of regulation, policy shifts, and macroeconomic upheavals that converge in a cataclysmic event. The flash crash of silver didn't happen in isolation nor overnight. It was a slow-burning fuse that finally met its spark. Regulatory policies, ostensibly designed to protect and stabilize, can, in times like these, morph into weapons of mass destabilization. Picture a dam holding back a river, steady and controlled until a sudden shift in the tectonic plates causes fissures, leading to an inevitable flood. Policies laid down to ensure market order inadvertently set the stage for increased vulnerability. As global markets grappled with the constant ebbs and flows of supply chain constraints and fluctuating currency valuations, the silver market became a pressure point, an easy target for those skilled in reading the seismic shifts in global finance. The ingredients of this perfect storm were layered meticulously. At first glance, they might appear benign, a minor policy adjustment here, a shift in international trade there. But make no mistake, these are not random patches on a quilt. They are master strokes on a canvas, designed to influence every aspect of market behavior. Currency fluctuations were exploited as leverage points. Meanwhile, liquidity providers recalculated their risk exposure, pulling out at the precise moments their presence was most needed. Here's the crucial anatomy of the storm. Massive liquidity vacuums opened up like sinkholes in the fabric of trading networks. Major players had preemptively hedged their bets, knowing full well the ricochet effect it would induce. Small investors, having been swept up in the euphoria, suddenly found the market floor turned to quicksand beneath them, emphasizing their precarious standing. As regulations stirred the pot further, macroeconomic signals, such as inflation metrics and interest rate adjustments, turned into amplifiers of chaos. Markets became exceedingly reactive, like a tightly wound spring, waiting for the smallest nudge to unleash kinetic devastation. In the subsequent 48 hours, we saw the culmination of these factors materialize as one of the most precipitous declines in silver's recent history, starkly confirming how layered vulnerability could guarantee market upheaval. The reality is as chilling as it is revealing. What appears to be spontaneous is anything but. The careful choreography of disruptions all but ensured an outcome of unprecedented proportions. We find that when regulatory mechanisms fail to synchronize with macroeconomic realities, the result is far more than just a blip on the financial radar. It's an outright avalanche, causing devastation in its wake, but also, just maybe, providing a uniquely horrifying learning opportunity. Now, for the investor, both retail and otherwise, the imperative is clear. Learn the dance to avoid the trap. Understand the forces at play, and perhaps next time, you won't be caught in the crossfire of a system so delicately poised on the edge of chaos. This isn't just a market lesson, it's a manifesto for survival in an ever-complex web of global finance. The dance of price dynamics in the silver market is a volatile waltz, where each step, every rise, and every fall is dictated by forces that most investors scarcely comprehend. This chapter unravels those steps, peeling back the tangled layers of extreme price fluctuations. While to the casual observer, these market gyrations might resemble the frenzy of a carnival ride, those in the know recognize the meticulous orchestration of these moves. Silver's wild swings are no mere reflection of supply and demand. They are instead the echoes of louder shouts in a crowded trading floor. Imagine this. Traders interpret even the faintest signals as if they were thunderous announcements. The market reacts violently, kicking up swirls of price volatility akin to dust storms in the desert. Consider the blow-off tops, those explosive surges followed by sharp, punishing reversals. These are the price pyrotechnics of a market hitting speculative overdrive, where greed pushes the throttle to its breaking point. Traders, caught in the exuberance, chase after phantom gains until gravity inevitably reasserts its pull. It is during these moments of euphoria that the silver price, like Icarus flying too close to the sun, hits its peak before plummeting back to Earth. Meanwhile, the capitulation phases are the grim conclusion to these speculative frenzies. It's the moment when hope, like a candle flickering in a storm, finally gutters out. Prices collapse as fear, the great motivator, grips the collective psyche of the market. Investors unload their positions as quickly as possible, desperate to avoid total ruin. But let us not forget the invisible hand guiding this chaos: algorithmic trading systems. These mechanical orchestrators sense the blood in the water. They capitalize on every mispricing, every liquidity vacuum, magnifying swings and shattering traditional price support levels with an uncanny efficiency. What one might perceive as randomness is, in fact, precise calculation underpinned by lightning-fast execution. So, who paints this relentless picture of rise and fall? It's the perfect storm brewed by a combination of human psychology and automated execution. The veneer of order hides the reality of a perpetual tug-of-war between rational strategies and compounding fears that manipulate prices far beyond their fundamental values. In these dynamics of silver trading, the lesson for you, the market participant, is profound. Trading is not an isolated endeavor. It is an engagement in a battlefield where foresight and understanding of market signals grant you a chance not only to survive but also to thrive amid turbulence. Understand the dance, and you transform from observer to strategist, able to interpret the rhythm of the market's tremors with clarity and precision. The date is January 29th, a day that would go down in history as the very pinnacle of silver's euphoric ascent. The air on the trading floor crackles with the static of excitement. Retail investors, those new foot soldiers of finance, euphorically march into battle, galvanized by the siren song of anticipated gains. Emboldened by bullish forums and a feverish Reddit horde, they bet headlong on silver's never-ending climb. But here lies the deception. The atmosphere is not merely charged with enthusiasm, it is saturated with precarity. As the relative strength index, RSI, flares crimson, echoing an overbought signal, and trading volumes spike to record levels, astute market veterans know that the exuberance masks an impending shift, akin to tectonic plates shifting beneath a boiling volcano. Retail traders, entranced by the price surge, seize this moment, their screens flickering with digitized temptation. Their mistake? Confusing momentum with unbounded potential. But as history tells us, markets are not habitats for perpetual optimism. They are cyclical beasts, frothing with concealed rhythms of hope and despair, greed and fear. As the collective zeal reaches its zenith, few recognize they stand on the precipice of a precipice. Enter the professionals who, unlike amateurs, play the long game of anticipation. Under the radar, they trim positions, recalibrate strategies, and brace for the anticipated recoil. Algorithmic sentinels trace every minor tremor, their synthetic acuity far exceeding human speed. They detect not just numbers, but the very heartbeats of the market, converting them into split-second decisions that demand high-stakes accuracy. As the digital roulette spins to its fever pitch, an observable phenomenon unfolds: the blow-off top. It's an apex of excitement, where price escalation appears unstoppable. Yet behind this facade lurks the silent countdown to volatility, a pressure cooker moments from release. To the untrained, it's a spectacle. To the seasoned, it's a harbinger. And thus, as shadows lengthen over trading screens, a subtle but pervasive realization grips the market. Euphoria is but a precursor to reality's return. As some clamor for diamond hands, those with experience reach for an exit strategy, whispering age-old wisdom. What goes up must come down. Midnight strikes, and with it, the curtain rises on the symphony of the inevitable. In watching this cycle of boom and bust, the lesson becomes crystal clear. The market is not merely a tide to ride. It's a primordial force to decipher. Each wave carries whispers of past and future, and those who pause to listen may ride it to fortune or safety, understanding that every ascent has its destined descent.